My story starts in 8th grade. Fractured as my memory is, I don't remember much of my life before then anyway, but we'll get to that. I was just like every other less than popular 14-year-old kid. I was kind of depressed. I was worried because I didn't know what to do with my life, even though counselors said I should be thinking about it. And really, all I wanted was for a girl to notice me, or for anyone to notice me, really. So it happened. Just as winter break was ending that year, around New Year's 2009, I went to the doctor for some eczema on my face, but he found something much worse. I had a yellow discoloration in the whites of my eyes, and as it turns out, this tends to allude to liver failure. For the next month, I was confined to bed with hepatitis. The doc said I should stay in because it wasn't a normal strain of hepatitis, and nobody knew whether it was contagious or how serious it would get. I'd say it was pretty serious. Even if I wanted to go to school, I could hardly move. Every muscle burned, every joint ached. My head hurt so much I often couldn't see straight, and my liver felt like a bag of acid ready to burst. After at least 5 different doctors, a liver specialist was able to tell me that my illness was likely caused by a mutated strain of mono. He also told me my lucid daydreams and semi-comatose state were likely a common side effect of liver cirrhosis, psychosis. And though I kicked that illness on my own soon after, I was plagued for months by a weak immune system and several other diseases. And to this day, my mind is altered and my memory damaged due to the psychosis. All throughout this ordeal, one thought remained very clear in my mind. No matter how bad I hurt or how disturbing my fever dreams were, one thought never eluded me. Nobody cared. I'd been gone from school for 3 weeks, and only my very close friend Dustin had called to check up on me. To everyone else, my so-called friends, it was as if I had never existed, and this thought caused me to give up. I didn't see the point in anything. I came to believe my life and death would never matter. I failed half my classes that year, but the teachers understood that it was because I was sick and sent me on to high school anyway. Not that I was going to be excited for that. The following summer, barely healthy again from the last extra thing that plagued me, I went backpacking for 2 weeks at Philmont Scout Ranch. It was tough on my disease-withered, 100-pound, 14-year-old body, but it was well worth every moment of discomfort. Weeks in the wilderness, with guys that really shared brotherhood, with each other and with me, surrounded by the most beautiful natural environment New Mexico had to offer, I began to see the point again. My disease taught me you could really die at any time. I had stared death in the face. The guys on the trip, they knew what happened, and they said I looked older for it. With age comes wisdom, and in that wilderness I found a reason to live. I realized that the world was beautiful, and I shouldn't waste my time as a ghost of my near death. For the first time I can remember, I was deeply and truly happy. This bliss wouldn't last long, though. For whatever wisdom I thought I had, I was not prepared to keep high school from eating me alive. When I returned to society, I was shocked by how absorbed people were in their technology and in their own selfish ends. There was a beautiful world out there. I'd seen it, and rather than going out and enjoying it, they all lived inside of social networking sites, and experienced the world through their text messaging screens. This is why they didn't notice me. They were blind to the world and its reality. Hundreds of kids starving in Africa, and they would cry and complain about every social inconvenience. They knew nothing of suffering, nothing of pain, nothing of loneliness or despair. They only knew what would get them attention, and it was their cries for attention that made them deaf to the anguished screams of those they trod upon like so many steps on the stairway to popularity and fame. I decided then to make a noise so loud it couldn't be ignored, but then wasn't I the one vying for attention? I began to absorb myself into counterculture. I started to look scarier. Thinking back, I don't think I often stopped scowling. I stopped feeling nervous and started advocating nihilist views in every class in an effort to show the teacher I was smarter and to scare the foolish sheltered kids who surrounded me. I listened to hardcore punk music, I experimented with drugs and alcohol, I did everything I could to piss off wealthy people and authority figures alike. I was your mom and papa's worst nightmare. I always kept it under wraps though, just enough to trick my parents into believing I was just expressing myself, when really I was destroying myself. In Fight Club, Tyler Durden says, "It's not until we have lost everything that we are free to do anything." I believed it. That damn movie. That damn book. My friend Allison first introduced me to it in 8th grade. She was beautiful, so I took it to heart, maybe more than I should have otherwise. I took it too far, though. Scared her off. We haven't talked in years. She tells people I'm really intense or something. First it was her, then it was my longtime friends. Sometime between Christmas 2011 and New Year's 2012, I woke up after a party I couldn't remember, and right then decided to become sober and get my life together. But history repeats itself. After my second fall, the one I brought on myself, Philmont was waiting for me again. Just as I had control of my second blight, I would now have control of this second trek. I was going this time as a crew leader. The other kids in my crew were the same age as I was the first time I went. It's funny how life turns around on you as you get older. As I went through that trek, things kept going wrong. The perfect, blissful trip I remembered was no more. It was stressful and difficult, and I constantly argued with my adult advisors. But just like old stories of young braves, it taught me to be a man, taught me to be a leader, in a way no other experience in my life could rival, past or future. You never know who you really are until you're responsible for 10 other lives in the most challenging and dangerous environment that can often be found. I took these lessons with me from that endless wilderness and carried them then south of the border. Only weeks later I journeyed to Ecuador with the only Christian youth group I'd encountered that accepted and even found it interesting that I was a Unitarian Universalist. There we met the most interesting people in the most beautiful mountains, while we constructed water filtration devices in each of 3 villages. All the while we taught each other about our respective faiths and forged friendships I still have to this day. I am 17 months sober of drugs and alcohol. I am an Eagle Scout. I am a humanitarian. I am an aspiring author of both fictional and factual works. I am healthy, and I am happy. I've come so far from the depressed teenager I once was before life fell on me in all its crushing weight, and though each rise and fall on my situation, I pulled lessons from each. Bad things happen that we do not have control over. There's no way to avoid this. I fell ill when no one else did for no reason other than chance, or perhaps fate. But we need to take what life shows us for all it's worth, because not only did I learn to accept things I can't control, but that all life is precious. Time is a loan, and it's not to be squandered. No matter how bleak it seems, there is a world out there full of beauty and wonder. Things you've never seen, places you've never been, people you've never met. These things compel me to keep going so that when I get through the bad, I can strive for the good and forge a path in my life that will take me everywhere. And when my time comes, I can die without regrets. Never bring yourself down if you can control it. It's true that sometimes it's hard to feel, and we want to numb these things with drugs, with alcohol, with self-destruction. But it gets us nowhere. It does not make a sound, it simply makes us silent. And life won't always be perfect. Sometimes you get stuck in a bad situation with incapable allies. However, as long as you can trust yourself to do the right thing and handle any situation as best as it can be, others will trust, follow, and support you, even in the toughest of times. It's not whether people notice you. You are not the perceptions of others. You are nothing more and nothing less than exactly who you choose to be.